and brought to you by Gunnies, the great American gun store, Orem, Utah. Drop by Gunnies, punch Wyatt in the shoulder, and tell him thank you for supporting the Nutnfancy project. Gunnies. This gun is fun to shoot. Ask Jardine, my crew member, who helped me test this highly used, old, beat-up parts as parts DSA SA58. Man, that's a mouthful. We had a blast. We had a blast. No pun intended. And I'll start off a little bit backwards. How did it shoot? Incredibly, really. I was really surprised at how fun it was to shoot. It's smooth. It does recoil. I mean, there's something going on there for sure. It's a tilting breech block short stroke piston 308 semi-auto. Of course it's going to recoil. 1950s technology, but man, we liked it. It is just, we're just shooting it. It's like, man, this thing is so smooth. It's heavy for sure. As configured, I think my full up weight on that is like over 11 pounds with a Burris AR-536 red dot, and then we have a scope mount on here that came with the gun. I did not put that on there. I just checked it out from Gunnies. No money exchanging hands at all. Just supporting the show, and I will give it back to Gunnies. And I recommend one of y'all who want a FAL pattern rifle, go buy it from him. I'm not sure what he's asking for, but from what I see from this particular example of an SA58, it's desirable. It's desirable. It is. And we highly enjoyed shooting it. It was so fun. So I'm going to roll in footage as we tested it. We probably went through around, I would say maybe 400 rounds is all, maybe 450 on it. And then we had to go to other projects and guns. But that was enough to give us a flavor of this version of SA58. And in this tabletop review, I'm not going to attempt to talk about all the variations of DSA SA58s that they do. I'm not going to give you the history of the FAL. There's so many videos and resources that have done that already, much better than I could ever do it. I'm just going to give you my opinion. How did it shoot, a little bit about the features and would I buy it. It's really hot. And maybe a little bit about philosophy, because I know a lot of guys have been waiting so long for me to do an FAL rifle. We love shooting it prone. I like the extendable bipod, jumping ahead a little bit. I mean, this thing is rad. It really is. We have the, what is it, the two-piece metal forearm on this version right here, two-piece. It did transmit heat. I mean, the thing got hot. We were shooting it with no cool down. You may hear us mention it in the video. The thing was smoking. And we just wore gloves. I usually do. I got my pigs on for the review. Watch for the review, still the SGS Pilot Watch, link below. Buy it. It is totally awesome. This is the quartz version. Got the OD black stripe band, NATO band. Mini watch review. Fun to shoot. We did remark, however, it is dang heavy. No surprise, right? And we're like, yeah, it's fun to shoot, but I don't want to be like a troop hauling this thing around. And we thought about its history and the FAL history and how many countries use it and still use it. Thought about the G3 Belgian FALs in the 1950s. It was just interesting as we got to shoot it. Lengthy, I mean, in a lot of different positions and stuff. You'll see the footage. It was great to shoot, but it was kind of a recreational approach that we had. And it's just like, yeah, fun gun. I think Jardine said he'd buy it too. He's like, yeah, I own this gun. It's pretty fun. But the underline underscore fun. Then this day and age when we have some lighter weight alternatives, maybe that's where it's at. I'll bounce back to that. Perhaps. I do have an M1A at the top and a walnut stock. It's wearing a brass stacker, leather cheek rest, a cavum mount. I think that's what that's called, a cavum mount. Probably my overall favorite optics mount on an M1A. And it's really a good comparison contrast. This isn't really a square off video, but I had to fill the top up with something. Might as well put one of the TMP M1As up. Oh, that's a great gun. I love M1As. They're just so excellent. And when I get to the talking point of would I buy it, we're going to discuss that. Like, and maybe it will be a square off video, but you know, against the M1A versus a FAL, which one would you want to buy? You know, say in comment. I think it's basically going to center around, as it should, second cool. G19 right here.
This is really good.
Gen 4. I don't like the X model. Patches, nutnfancybigcartel.com. Let's go to the paper, gentlemen, shall we? Now, I didn't change the optic on it. I'm really glad that Wyatt had outfitted this gun with an optic, and we do add a lot of weight with it with this. I really don't know which brand or type of optics rail this is. I know FAL guys, I keep saying FAL, SA58 guys will know. I don't really care. It was stable though, it didn't move. It was good, and that's saying something. And it gave us an opportunity to get perhaps some better accuracy out of it. We started at 50 yards and we were very impressed. Look at this. How did it shoot? Well, I wrote it right here. Excellent. Hey, Nutnfancy, you shot that long ago. How come you haven't reviewed it until now? Yeah, got a lot of things going on, dudes. SA58, this one, 50 yards. Wolf Steel. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then I stretched it out to 100 yards, and then the accuracy became what I pretty much expected. But keep in mind, I'm shooting this optic, and what is the power range on this? Oh, it's pretty much nothing, I think. I'm not really positive, but we just shot with that. It's kind of a red dot, and then I got this accuracy out of it. NATO spec, that is about what I expected. Maybe like 3 MOA with that optic on it, and that's taking my time. So this is really trying to wring out the maximum potential out of it. It's shooting about like an M1A with a scope does. The M1A standard variation, you know, it's kind of out there. And I've gotten M1As to shoot, if I'm really lucky, I have had some 1 MOA groups for sure with really good ammunition that it likes. Generally, I'm around 2 inches, if memory serves. I really need to go out and shoot it again. Update that one. So accuracy is good. That's what I will say for the SA58. A lot of different variations. Maybe I'll show you some as we're talking here. Maybe some are better than others, but it is a 1950s era design. There are variations that have Picatinny rails on them, like we said. They have the DSA Arms Voyager SA58. And, you know, how do they shoot? I don't know. But I don't know if you dial into this for maximum accuracy, especially if you're just running irons, which are fairly rudimentary. You know, and then maybe you want to put an optic on it. It's interesting that both of these guns, the M1A and this DSA SA58, they're both wearing optic adaptations, and they're not meant for it. That ain't meant for optics. The M14 isn't, M1A. This isn't either. This is a modern, you know, upgrade that later they said, hey, we run optics. But when this was in service, G3 included, they're like, yeah, irons are fine. Same with the M1 Grand and later the M14, for sure. We did really enjoy shooting it though, and that'll take us to a quick POU discussion. What would I use an SA58 for in pretty much any flavor? Well, I'm wondering if you guys, I mean, I've read the comments through the years and you're like, oh, review the SA58, review the FAL, review the FAL. I wonder if you guys are expecting me to come to Tabletop and go, hey man, this is my new go-to-war choice. Is that what you're expecting? Because that's not what I'm going to say. You know that. You know, against modern competition, a really good, well put together AR-10 or piston driven 308 battle rifle like an FM17S, dude, it doesn't hold a candle. It's way too heavy. It's way too long. It's a long weapon. Nah, there's no way. Not even in a static location would I use this. Now you can say, and you might have a point, you're like, well, you've got an M1A on the table. That's going to be basically the same weight. And then you do consider that a GTW weapon, don't you? And the answer is yes. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something else there, a second cool thing that I'm not as warmed up to the FAL as I am the Grand. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Would I use, well, let's get real. Would I use an M1A as a go-to-war? With what I know now, this point in TMP, as a go-to-war 308 battle rifle? No. I wouldn't. It's too heavy. Not accurate. Not against like an M&P 10. Not against like a weight aside, like the H&K MR762. That thing shoots like MOA. So does a SIG. I mean, those are really, really impressive, as I call them, team rifles. So they're ones that can really sink rounds very reliably and accurately. Speaking of reliability, though, the SA-58, this version, after we adjusted the gas system and got it tuned, was extremely reliable. That's another thing we loved about it. That's good. So reliability-wise, between these two platforms, it's probably a wash. In some camps, they would say, well, the FAL is going to be a better gun. It's an enclosed action versus the open grand action. Maybe that's what they say. I don't know. Philosophy of use, just fun gun, I think, is where it should center on. Competition gun, nope. I'm really thinking, would you use it as perhaps an anti-piracy rifle? One of my favorite philosophies of use for an AR-10. That's what I said about the FN FNAR. Yeah, you could actually. I mean, weight there is actually a benefit. If you're shooting off the deck of a rolling ship, yeah, totally. I have found out, strangely, that a lot of the anti-piracy crews, these are contractors, they use 5.56s. And I was a little bit mystified when I found that. I'm like, well, you're on a ship, and you might engage far out. Why wouldn't you use a 308? I don't know. That's be my, unless there's some supply issues, some legality issues there with calibers. I don't know, but to me, I would go 308 totally. If I'm trying to take down a pirate approaching my ship and I'm a contractor. I wonder if I should read this comment I found online. I actually kind of liked it. And he gives some background on the DSA builds. I think I will. The dude says, and I forgot where I found this, he says the quality of the DSA FAL builds has varied over the years. Their original and discontinued STG-58 product line was quality, all forged, heat-treated to original FN FAL military specs. These were by far the best quality FALs DSA built using a combination of quality surplus parts and newly forged parts. Original cold hammer forged barrels on the earlier ones, then replaced by a 4140 commercial spec steel barrel of considerable less rated barrel life than the original hammer forged, but quite sufficient for the typical shooter. I would agree with that. Bolt carrier groups were surplus mil spec forged, then replaced by bar stock machine bolt carrier groups from 4140 steel using 9310 steel bolt. Woo, there's some details in there, bros. The next product line was the SA-58 series. This is a hybrid that used a mixture of forged and bar stock in the upper and a lower made of T6 7075 aluminum, not the steel or bar stock as per FN specs. Over the years, DSA has had heat treatment problems with their aluminum lowers. SA-58 series has two upper receiver options. Newly produced forged or bar stock machines from 4140 steel. SA-58 series has two standard barrel options, 4140 or 4150 CMV, which offers a 5,000 round improved in barrel life over 4140. Whew, I'm running out of steam. Bar stock machine bolt carriers groups from 4140 steel using 9310 steel bolt. Almost done. The latest production is the budget SA-58 Voyager rifle series. This is the one to stay away from. Upper receiver, bolt, and bolt carrier are cast parts. Absolute garbage, not for hard use. A range toy at best, says this person. He kind of sounds like he knows what he's talking about, though, and I have kind of learned how to weed out the chaff. That guy kind of seems like he owns the guns. He's probably shot a few of them. Kind of knows what he's talking about. I thought I'd just pass that on. It kind of sets the stage as we go into features review. I kind of think this is a parts is parts gun. I don't know what year this DSA SA-58 was put together. It does have, I think, formerly military parts put on it, and this looks like a military receiver to me, not a commercial receiver, which makes it, again, I said it at the intro, desirable, right? It's cool. Having a later built commercial spec FAL to me, just in a second cool fashion, would not be something I'd be interested in. If I'm going to buy an SA-58, I want it to be old school. I want it to go back and capture the 1950s, 1960s. So I want good parts. I don't want something totally worn out, but the more I can make it original FAL spec, the more I would like it. I want it to have the styro plastic furniture. I want it to probably to have the military or the two-piece metal forend on it, and most of the commercial ones don't. They're really trying to bring it into the modern era when the gun really isn't set up for that. It's just too darn heavy. With the competition, it's too darn heavy. You'll see some reviews on YouTube. You'll read on blogs about guys that, oh my gosh, this is a go-to-war gun. I mean, the SA-58 is where it's at. And I watched a couple, and I'm just saying to myself, TPA. These guns were given to these guys for free. They're doing a positive review, and they're acting like it's their favorite GTW choice. And I would love to see them actually use it as such. I highly suspect it's rare. I do think some contractors over the years in Afghanistan have used FAL derivatives. I don't have positive evidence of that. I have seen some photos, and some guys really, really love it, and they'll take the extra weight. There, done with that. This, we're going into features review now. This is some funky long muzzle device. I don't know who put this together. It's pretty typical of the type. Kind of funky, but it worked pretty good, at least in terms of flash suppression, not so much muzzle compensation. Has kind of a thinner barrel on it, this SA-58. I suspect it is an older military barrel of the forged variety, referencing that comment that I just read. I think so. Seeing how this shot, this is a really good barrel on this particular gun. 360 barrel band, we've seen that. Talked about the fold-out bipod. Talked about the heat transfer. Not a free-floated forend, of course. There's your front sight, dudes. And I put that orange marking on there for our gas setting. There is a tool you can adjust those with. We just used our hands, no big deal. And I had Jardine do that. I was like, hey man, you know, research the SA-58 FAL system, tune it up, and sure enough, once we got that done, it was pretty excellent. There's your retention spring clip, by the way, on the muzzle device in the groove on the end of the barrel. I didn't really try to take that off, run with a can on it, didn't do any of that. I didn't think it's really appropriate. I'm not going to try to suppress this one. Not this one. Maybe a really shorter barreled CQB version of an SA-58. Maybe that would be better. I love the carry handle on FALs. They're just so cool. It's fun carrying around, and it's needed because it's pretty darn heavy. It's pretty darn heavy. We said that in the desert. We're carrying around like, man, this is pretty cool. I mean, carrying it around and, I don't know, whatever. We have a Rockin' magazine. Here's your magazine release right here. This is the only magazine we had with it. And luckily, it worked great. I was so happy. And then we have your bolt release here, side charging handle here, standard FAL. And I'm not going to take it down because I just cleaned my table, dudes. Here's the photo. Yeah, I'm just to the point now, the greasy guns. Put something underneath, Nutnfancy. Okay, I could do that. Another reason I don't do it is because everyone else does. So you don't need to see me do it, and it adds like 5 more minutes to the video. It'll be long enough. Long enough. Here's the safety on it, standard FAL. This one I think rotates down too much, so this is pretty surplusy if you ask me. So, you know, it's just an older gun. You know, and FAL experts, you'll see them in comments. They'll tell you if you're interested about all the variations, and they can give you specifics on this. I think that's reversed right there, that pivot screw. It should have the slotted side on this side, I think. I didn't try to reverse it. I could be off on that. The takedown features, all that stuff. Let me show you a close-up of this receiver, though, and you tell me what you think. That does not look commercial to me. That looks like repurposed military. Same with the furniture. Okay, and the grip angle on the FAL SA-58 ain't great. You know, it's so rackish. It's like a Sturmgewehr, really. It's just so rackish. Lends itself to just the old school way of shooting. And this looks like super old Steyr furniture on it, plastic variety of furniture, which I dig. Ain't gonna lie, I like it. The more beat up and authentic it looks like a FAL, the more I would be interested in getting one. Maybe as a collectible. I did forget to mention that. Maybe as a collectible. And that buttstock has seen some use, hard rubber. And there's probably some markings on here that guys would know and go, oh yeah, that's such and such. Sorry, I don't. A lot of different rear sights on the SA-58s. This is just a very simple one, single aperture. I didn't shoot through them, and they seem really basic. Compared to the gun in the background, iron sight wise, this gun would dominate it. The M1A, M14 series dominate the FALs. I mean, this is the best aperture sight I've ever shot, especially when you do my freaking front sight mod. So I've got this painted orange, and that's a national match front sight on this M1A. I think that's a national match NM flash hider as well. Of course, I'm running the Burris scope on here just for giggles. I forgot why I put that scope on there. Oh, I remember. I was going to test the Cava mount and got distracted. I still need to do a review on that Cava mount. Tell me in comment if you still want that. I mean, that was like 4 years ago, and I just had so many other things going on in TMP. Here's that optic on here on the SA58. It's kind of heavy. It's got pick rails on it for, I guess, the addition of flashlights and stuff. I'd much rather run a hollow sun or a primary arms on it. That would have lightened it up a lot, but it worked. I mean, it's not bad. It's got red and green illumination. Let me look through and remind myself what it looks like. Oh yeah, really thick reticle with a little pip and crosshairs on it. And there is some magnification in there. I'm sorry if I said it was 1 power. It's not. More than that. Let's look at the markings on here so FAL guys will help identify it. They probably know all the different stampings and when they happened. The trigger was actually pretty good. I'm trying to remember how much stacking it had. I think we kind of liked it. I think we did. It's like we're shooting. It's like this trigger isn't horrible. You know, it had a lot of take up on it.
5 shots on a different run.
Standard 1950s, 1960s era technology. I'm going to pull it right now. But you're basically buying this, like I said, for second cool and just kind of taking it as it is. I've said this in some other tabletop reviews. If you're going to buy a gun, holy freak, that broke pretty hard. If you're going to buy the gun and then put a whole bunch of mods to bring it up to modern spec, and I'm not talking about a new production SA58. I'm talking like something like this, eclectic, kind of surplusy. I would say leave it as is, you know? Otherwise, go get something else that's more ready-made. Save yourself some money. Dude, that's pulling stiff. I didn't think it was that stiff in shooting. I mean, I got 815 on the first pull, 10 pounds on the next pull. Holy cow. That's a stiff trigger. The side charging, I didn't mind. This is a forged part right here, keeping it clean. Again, enclosed design versus the M1A, M14 series. Down and dirty features review on the SA58. I'll leave it at that. Would I buy it? No, I wouldn't. You knew that was coming, right? I wouldn't. I mean, even for a fun gun, I think there are other guns that I'd rather have than the SA58. And again, I'm not really totally, you know, certain that this is like a mixture of surplus and new production. This seems new to me. This portion here is a newly milled steel part. This seems surplus, 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 surplus. I could be off. The barrel seems like it's original military. But maybe it goes back that I really don't have a history with FALs. If I had a history with FALs in one respect or another, I would be more apt to add it to a collection and shoot it. That doesn't mean I don't like shooting it. It doesn't mean I don't like the gun. But I'm saying if I have a certain quantity of money, I'd probably buy an M1A. I like shooting it. I mean, this trigger on here is insane. I love the wood stock. I like the history of the M1 Garand. I like the history of the M14 in Vietnam. I'm a big M1A guy. I really am, always have been, more in terms nowadays than second cool. Look at how gorgeous this gun is, dudes. This is a beautiful gun. The lines of an M1A, and we're just talking second cool here, preferences, that's all. They're just awesome. They're cool. And this is a shooter, super reliable. I did Red Skies with my SOCOM M1A, now sold, now gone. This is actually our only M1A cast member now. And this one actually came with a synthetic stock. And then I went out and got this walnut because I love the looks of the walnut stock. Repro sling that I cut, you know, it's not original sling. So push come to shove, which one would I get if I'm going to add it to a collection? Assuming close enough prices, M1A. Now, if you say, well, you can get, you know, a parts as parts SA58 for $600, that changes things for me. Now I would buy it probably, because now for $600 and I have the mil-spec features on here, and I'm using the word mil-spec, I probably should say military, genuine military components is a more accurate term, I might get it, but just as a fun gun. Putting it in serious use compared to modern alternatives that I've reviewed and brought to tabletop, no, not going to happen. This one is going back to Gunnies, the Great American Gun Store, so if you like it, go get it. I suspect someone watching this video is going to snag this gun, and I suspect they're going to be very happy with it. It was reliable, it was accurate, just darn heavy, but that's the gun. That's the era we're talking about, and there's lots of second cool. I guarantee you this, you will have fun shooting it. It is a very, very fun gun to shoot, and it will harken back to the Cold War era and earlier than that, actually, and the amazing history of the FAL rifles. It's a cool gun. The modern alternatives, will ever get around to reviewing those? I won't say no. I won't say no. Maybe, maybe, maybe. I'll bring a modern SA-58 to the table. Maybe it's a Voyager, which that guy was railing on. And by the way, I can't vouch for that. I don't know if that's true. We'll see. And that is my tabletop review. Over and out, Nutnfancy. See ya!